Germany is one of the best civilizations in Civilization 6, are the highest potential production civ in Civilization 6. They produce things faster than jewel companies produce nicotine addictions among teenagers. In this guide, we have a main strategy, some secret strategies, and some historical strategies to help you dominate Civ 6 deity games with the Germans and their insane production. As always, if you like the video, leave a like and subscribe to not miss out on future content, and comment down below what civ you want me to do next. Taking a look at Germany's abilities real quick, the German leader ability is every city-state is France. Gives them a combat bonus of +7 against every city-state in the game, including their cities and military units. This lets them take out enemy city-states very quickly, as +7 strength early game is absolutely no joke. It is kind of niche though, as you want to keep most city-states alive for their bonuses, but unless you find a really strong city-state, I wouldn't recommend using this ability too much, because you have to detour to get battering rams on the higher difficulties, because city-states start out with walls, and the extra text it would require is most of the time really not worth it. The German civ ability is called Modern German Stereotypes. Despite a low population, the Germans work harder than anyone else in Civ 6. Each city can build an extra district than the normal population will allow, letting them to get a lot more districts than usual. This can be useful in getting those sweet industrial zone, commercial hub, and campus district trifecta in each city, allowing them to focus more on production than population growth to pump out their extra districts faster than Bethesda pumps out bugs in their games. The German unique unit is the Unterseebooten, or the U-boat. The U-boat is great for ocean conflicts, however the AI never builds naval units anyway, so it really doesn't matter as much as, say, a land-based unique unit, because the few naval units the AI will build are most likely to be near the coast, meaning you're only going to get your strength bonus maybe once or twice throughout the entire game. The German district is called German Sweatshops. The Hansas is the best district in the game, as it gives you unreal amounts of production by getting adjacency from commercial hubs and being easier and cheaper to build than the regular industrial zone. You will quickly gain a massive production advantage, giving into the Civ 6 German theme of producing things more and faster than other civs. Overall, the German abilities are very strong, headlined by the Hansas, giving them the ability to build anything very quickly with their extra district and super industrial zone. So because of this, they really are a jack of all trades, as you could go for domination, science, or culture almost as effectively as each other, but I would recommend a science victory, as the extra district can be used for campuses, and with industrial zones, you can build spaceship parts and spaceports a lot faster than anyone else. Although the production can be used to snag up all the late game wonders, and the extra district gives you theater square adjacencies, which are some of the hardest district adjacencies to get, for culture, or you could go domination by building units faster than the enemy can kill them, ironic considering that's how they lost to the Soviets. Religion isn't very effective as Germany because you won't get your production before the holy sites, and getting a religion is just as hard as Germany as any other civ because you have no bonus to getting one or a unique holy site district. Diplomacy is really average, as the Germans don't have any bonuses or debuffs to Diplo favor, although by taking out enemy city-states, you will be decreasing the potential Diplo favor you yourself can make. So I guess that's kind of a debuff, but you don't really have to go to war. The best strategy is by far a science game for Germany. Start by building up your empire and settling your cities, try to get at least 10 by turn 120 max, set up near floodplains to get the dams and more effective adjacency for commercial hubs, as well as increasing your Hansa potential production. Plan out your empire extensively, as Germany more than anyone needs to max out their district planning everywhere. If you go ahead and just throw your Hansas wherever, you're not going to make much use of them, as they'd really not have the adjacency you can potentially get as Germany. I recommend the Better Map Tax mod, as that mod gives you the yields each district will provide for you and shows you exactly how much the district is going to get after placing everything down. Afterwards, get these districts in this order for every city: campus, Hansa, commercial hub, aqueduct, dam, entertainment complex. Switch out campuses with Hansas after you do research the industrial zone, because new cities can build Hansas quicker and get nice extra production to build the other districts a little faster. Also, build the government plaza in your capital city so you can pump out settlers a lot faster with Ancestral Hall. Take out a city-state early on only if it's in a really good position, but if not, I would really not recommend detouring to get rams and swords, as that will slow down your ultimate goal. After getting your districts, beeline techs in this order, all the worker techs you need: writing, apprenticeship, education, industrialization, research labs, rocketry, and then the requisite spaceship parts, with small detours to get aqueducts and dams in the early game. This will give you all the techs you need for Germany to win a science victory, and will also allow you to get all the production and wonders you'd potentially need. For civics, go early empire, political philosophy, recorded history, merchant republic, and then communism into globalization, giving you the early settler production from early empire, political philosophy's extra tier 2 or tier 1 government, as well as being able to build the ancestral hall, while recorded history gives bonuses to campus districts and a little more science. Merchant Republic is the only tier 2 government that's really effective on Germany, unless you want to go for diplomatic monarchy rush, and communism is the best science victory tier 3 government, globalization giving you a lot of science per allied city-state. I'd ignore U-boats and city-state wars late in the game as they take way more time than the benefits they would provide. Aside from that, don't forget to use your spies for both defensive and offensive purposes to steal techs and protect your spaceports, as well as research alliances for even more science from the commercial hub trade routes you'll have a lot of. With this, you'll be well on your way to winning a deity science victory in Civilization 6. To check out this plan in action, check out this video on the screen right now where I play a complete, in-depth, unedited Germany game. Before we get into the best wonders and the best governments as well as pitfalls to avoid, let's talk about some other unique strategies for the Germans. There are 3 different strategies I want to talk about. The first one is historical Germany, where you do the regular strategy of getting production in science, but after industrialization, you gear up for a modern era war with planes and tanks. You'll be very far ahead of the AI at this point, and using your production, you can spam out aerodromes, planes, and tanks, allowing you to absolutely blitzkrieg the other nearby civilizations for a domination victory. Getting these units fast due to your insane production per city, while also being far ahead in science, will allow you to actually conquer the world in this scenario. The next one is work ethic Germany. It's where you beeline holy sites and get work ethic to get even more production than you already had. Would recommend using Dance of the Aurora or Desert Folklore to get better holy site production depending on the map type. This is kind of a niche strategy as work ethic really isn't the best unless you have high adjacency holy sites. Not to mention it also makes it so that you have to go out of your way and get the astrology technology. But that's really the only tech you need because we're using the holy sites for production. So after you get the Pantheon and after you found the religion for work ethic, you are going to have to spread it however, so it does take a lot more, but it can be very effective in the late game. Finally, the last strategy is Wonder Horde Germany, where you beeline the Hansas and build theater squares while getting every wonder from the Renaissance era onward. With this strat, you should actually be able to get every wonder, and therefore increase your chances of winning a culture victory. You can build some units and go to war to take some great works in the late game, or even trade some gold you're getting from the commercial hubs to enemies for those same great works. It's the least optimal victory type, but it can definitely be done with enough luck and planning. Next up, let's talk about the best wonders to get as Germany. The best wonders for Germany are the ones that give them production and science in Civilization 6. Ruhr Valley is probably the one you need for an insane boost in production in one of your cities. The 20% boost is nice, especially if you get it in a very high city with mines and quarries to get extra production from each of those improvements. The next wonder you'll want to go for is Oxford to get a 20% science boost, as well as get a free technology or 2. The third wonder you gotta go for is Kilwa Kanasawa to get more science and production, depending on the city-states you have. If you have 2 science or production city-states, getting Kilwa will give you massive boosts to those yields in each and every one of your cities, amplifying the strengths Germany already possesses. The last wonder is Amundsen Scott Research Station. This one is very niche, but in the right situation, it can give you production and science in the late game to close out the victory. These are obviously just the best wonders for Germany specifically. I understand getting pyramids or hanging gardens or even Etymonanki is really good, but this is really just some specific wonders that the Germans use the best compared to other civs. The best governments for Germany in each tier are Classical Republic, Merchant Republic, Communism, and digital and synthetic technocracy. For Classical Republic, it's the best one, giving you amenities and housing, as well as 2 economic slots and 15% extra Great People points. Go Oligarchy if you're going for an early war or have an aggressive neighbor, but switch back to Classical Republic as soon as it is safe to do so. Tier 2, there really aren't any good governments because theocracy requires a religion, monarchy requires housing, or walls, and a diplomatic victory focus, which Germany doesn't like too much. So, by process of elimination, Merchant Republic is the best, giving you extra gold and 2 economic policy slots, which are helpful, but Tier 2 really isn't the best government for Germany. Tier 3, we get Communism or Democracy. I'd highly recommend Communism because you get 0.6 production per citizen in cities with governors and a 10% flat boost to science, which is literally almost everything you need. Also, you get a policy card that allows you to get massive internal trade routes, which are preferable in the late game because they will increase your production and food, allowing you to build spaceship parts as fast as you possibly can. The good thing about Democracy is the fact that it has 2 wildcard slots and diplomatic slots, whereas Communism has 1 of each and 3 military slots. You could make use of the extra production for international trade routes, and their New Deal policy is good if you're struggling with amenities and housing, although I would highly recommend Communism over Democracy in most cases. Maybe not real life, but still. Synthetic Technocracy is the Tier 4 government that's the best for Germany. You're going to be able to get 5 wildcard and 3 economic slots, which is the perfect distribution for a science victory. 3 power in all cities and 30% production to all city projects lets you build spaceship parts faster, keep your cities powered, and when you do launch this last spaceship part for the exoplanet expedition that requires power, you will have enough to build multiple per city. Before we talk about some multiplayer tips, let's talk about some pitfalls to avoid. Number 1, fighting city-states. If it's like a religious city-state or a commercial city-state or anything like that, and it's in a really great spot, that's fine, go after it. But you almost never want to go after science or production city-states, and even culture city-states are very good later on, as all 3 of these city-states will provide you some really great strategic use in the late game. Going after city-states on deity also requires you to get battering rams and swords because they all have walls on deity automatically, meaning you're taking off your tech path by about 3 to 4 techs, which is bad early game. I'd only go after city-states and build an army with rams and swords for them if there are maybe 2 to 3 commercial or faith city-states nearby that I really don't need, and they're all in pretty decent locations. The second pitfall is throwing districts anywhere without planning. The Germans are by far the civ that need good district management to make use of their abilities the most. It can only be done when you plan out with map tax, as if you just throw around district wherever, like I do 90% of the time, you're leaving potential yields on the table and will limit your potential growth. You always want to use your map tax to plan out the districts, and I highly recommend getting the better map tax mod, which will allow you to see the actual yield on the screen. The third pitfall to avoid is beelining the Hansas immediately. It kind of makes sense, as you'd think to yourself, if I could get the production from Hansas, I would be able to build everything else a lot faster. And don't get me wrong, Hansas are great in my personal favorite district, but early game, you really need worker techs and a defensive force against the AI to protect you, especially on the higher difficulties. Hansas really shine when you have other districts around them, like aqueducts and commercial hubs, to really increase their adjacency dramatically, and beelining them and getting them as the first district is in most cases not the optimal path. You want to get your settlers as well as your other infrastructure to grow your empire a little bit before the AI inevitably ends up forward settling you. You'll have a lot of time for Hansas, but first, you have to work on getting a strong base for your empire and get a strong foundation as well as a defense force and most of the cities you want before really trying to get your unique district. Finally, I want to throw out some minor multiplayer tips for the single player guide. Germany's effective in multiplayer, but you need to build a larger military than normal because unlike AIs, humans have brains, and if your military strength is too low, they'll take the opportunity to attack, especially considering how strong Germany can get late game. The best strategy I'd find is to use your Hansas to get to the modern era and take out the nearest human with bombers and tanks, as he won't have the production to stop you usually, and with a tech lead, if you can get one, you can overwhelm them fairly quickly. I'd also use your leader ability to wipe out nearby city-states you don't need across the map, because it will prevent other players from making use of the city-state's abilities, especially if they are the suzerain of said city-state, although watch out because they might just declare war on you to save their city-state. That's pretty much going to be it for the multiplayer tips, nothing too in-depth, but let me know some of your best tips in general for Germany down below and what civ you want me to go on a deep dive for next. And as always, like and subscribe so you don't miss out on this kind of content in the future. Check out my other videos and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.